you stress out when you're waiting for them to text you back, and you're probably Googling what to text to the person on the third day since the last date. And it's like you're consumed by it, and the other person can feel that. I often get messages from people, and I'll see this in the comments as well, where they'll write a whole essay about another person, their patterns, their psychology, their subconscious traits, and they'll often have zero insight into themselves, their own behaviors, acknowledge certain incidences or moments in the relationship where they didn't look so great. I get a lot of this from people who are self-described anxiously attached people, but it's not about blame or shame. More often than not, both parties have a role to play and are bringing patterns to a dynamic that are just oftentimes just downright incompatible. And that's why I want to talk about behaviors, patterns that some anxious people can do, not all, that maybe they don't realize that they're doing, that lead people to maybe not want to go on that second or third date with them or continue dating them after 1 or 2 months. And some of these things that I'm going to talk about are actually things that I've seen anxious people include as details in stories of dating people where it didn't work out. And it fascinates me sometimes how when they do include some of these things, it completely goes over their head how that would be really annoying for the other person or be such a turnoff for the other person. So I know, like I do in all my videos, I'm going to have people in my comments who are going to be mad at me or resent me for daring to make a video where I'm not just blaming and shaming the avoidant for everything. They're going to take out their transference, displaced anger on me in my comment section. I'm used to it, even though I do find it ironic that displaced anger is like the root of all the problems in the world. It's like why your parents were a piece of crap to you. It's why that kid bullies you at school. It's why your boss didn't give you that promotion no matter how hard you work. It's this displaced anger, bitterness, resentment, blah, 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 blah. So if you want to live in that territory, do it. But the second you leave behind black or white thinking patterns of this person's a problem, they're the problem, it's their fault, blame, shame, guilt trip, nag. When you leave that behind, you start to organically welcome more love and happiness into your world. So let's get into it. And by the way, if you're brand new here, welcome to Confessions of an Avoidant. My name is Wando. So the first thing is quick enmeshment, especially if it's sneaky and or alarming. That's a big turnoff for a lot of people. Being sneaky is looking through someone's phone, looking through their things, jumping on their computer. It could be inviting yourself to something that they never invited you to very early on. It might be showing up to a place where you know they'll be when you both didn't make a plan for you both to be there, but you sleuthed it out. It can be like the early signs of having not the greatest boundaries. Those things grate on people. They freak people out. I see that people will write things like, I don't understand, if they have nothing to hide, why can't I check their phone? I see people being very defensive of sneakiness, but I always say to that, if it's such an okay thing to do, why are you hiding it? Why are you jumping on the phone when they go to the bathroom? Why did you sleuth out on Facebook where they were going out on Thursday night with their friends and you didn't tell them that you were going to be there too? If it's such a okay behavior, why did you only admit to going through their drawers, looking through their things after they figured out that you did it? I just think if it's such an okay behavior, like you don't need to hide it. You don't need to be sneaky about it. So you can justify it, but if it's really important to do it for you, then at least have a conversation with the other person, explain why it's important, and then give them an opportunity to consent to it. And then at least you can be on the same page and maybe they'll be less freaked out. I don't know, but it does annoy people who don't have those kind of enmeshed boundaries. Next is quickly becoming very dependent on somebody and inadvertently putting them in a parental role, or you putting yourself in a parental role, subconsciously, of course. And this just sucks out the romance and attraction and companionship in relationships very fast, because the other person will feel like, well, now I have to constantly take care of this person and worry about them, or the other way around. And the positive associations of a new, exciting relationship full of companionship, it will just suck out that excitement very fast. So behaving like you're dependent on the other person and that they're responsible for you very quickly, that can start out with just lots of emotional dumping. Parentifying on your end could be lots of nagging, being overbearing, being the super overfunctioner very quickly. This could be expecting your partner to do things for you that you can do yourself, whether it's pay for things for you, get things for you, taking care of things that you should be doing yourself. It could be you expecting them to be your therapist instead of your companion and partner, expecting them to have a responsibility over you that's outside of their scope of skill or comfort. And I experienced this with somebody that I dated about 8 years ago, was it? I was so into him at first. He had some mental health struggles. I knew that he struggled with suicidal ideation and depression and stuff. And we were both into psychology. But this is why I always say, people need more than a few dates, more than a week, sometimes more than 2 or 3 months to really understand who they are dating. Are you compatible? Because about a month and a half into dating this guy, he just became so dependent on me with a lot of his mental health struggles. And I felt overwhelmed. I felt helpless because I'm not a therapist. I don't specialize in coming up with a plan for how to help somebody overcome really dark mental health obstacles. And he would lash out at me and get mad at me when I would keep suggesting to him, hey, you need to go to therapy. You need to see a therapist. I don't know how to help you with certain things. But he treated me like it was my job to be his therapist and his lover and great in bed and watch movies with him and go out to restaurants and be the therapist. It's like, I want to do all those things except being the therapist. I want to support you to get therapy. I want to support you in your healing, but I am not a therapist. So yeah, when you do these things, it just zaps all of the attraction out of the dating dynamic. Okay, so the third thing is desperation texting. Before I explain that, if you are appreciating this video, please like it. That helps my channel so much. And if you are finding yourself watching all of my videos, but you're not subscribed, subscribe. I invite you. That really helps my channel too. So thank you. Okay, so desperation texting. Desperation texting is when maybe you've gone on one date with somebody or 2 dates. It's very early doors. Maybe you've just hung out with somebody a couple of times that you're into, but there's not a strong rapport that's built. There's not organic conversation flowing. There's not, a really established chemistry, which is leading to the other person not showing that much interest in texting you every second. But because you've essentially put all of your eggs in the basket of this person, you really like them maybe, and you can't bear how slowly things are moving, or you can't bear the silence, you can't bear the lack of texting. You are texting them a lot. You're trying everything you can to keep a conversation going when there's not an organic conversation going. You stress out when you're waiting for them to text you back, and you're coming up with questions, and you're probably Googling what to text to the person on the 3rd day since the last date. And it's like you're consumed by it. And the other person can feel that. The other person can hear the gears in your head turning as you're like thinking of another question and you're thinking of another thing to say. And you're like, oh yeah, we had that date on Saturday. He mentioned that on Thursday he had an important meeting. So I'm going to text him in the morning before the meeting, like, good luck on your meeting. And then after the meeting, you've texted them 15 minutes later, like, how'd the meeting go? And you're like super eager to not let the texting momentum die like it's hot potato. You can't let it drop to the floor. People can feel that desperation off of you. Maybe the other person just doesn't feel the same way. Maybe they do like you and they just need a few more dates to like really start to feel that organic chemistry that's not forced, that's not desperate. And it's like, you need to like give them time to feel that if they do feel it. And if they don't, they're within their right to not feel it. Doesn't mean that they're avoidant. Doesn't mean that they're an asshole. Doesn't mean that they mess with your time. It just means for you as well that there's someone else out there for you. But it will help if you're not giving off that desperation. All right. Let me know what you think about some of these things. And I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching all the way to the end.